weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody. Jim here, and welcome to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be going through Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods #3. And if you're a Wonder Woman fan that values quantity over quality, then you are probably a happy camper lately. From Yara Flor and Nubia getting their own books, the Trial of the Amazons, and now this, Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods event, there have certainly been a lot of books hitting the shelf. Unfortunately, it's a whole other matter if you are looking for quality. While some of the books had potential, the writers involved were never good enough to reach it, and those same writers churned out hot garbage on everything else. So, how does DC right the ship? With another boring-ass event. That's how. Oh, well, let's get into this right after I ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, enable the notifications, and let me know what you thought of this issue of Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods in the comments below. Here are the credits. There's two stories. Main story is written by G. Willow Wilson with art by Emanuela Lupacchino and Cian Tormey. Backup story written by Becky, Cloonan, and Michael W. Conrad, as we like to call Cloonrad, with art by Alitha Martinez. And the main story opens with Wonder Woman showing up in Washington, D.C. to survey the wreckage of the previous battle. I felt like I missed something getting to this point, but here we are with Wonder Woman crying over the corpse of a dragon and blaming herself for everything that's happened. The problem is, the story so far has been so surface level and bare bones that there's been little opportunity to get invested in anything, especially on an emotional level. At least Cheetah shows up so that Diana can tell someone else, other than the dead dragon, that everything's her fault. And all I keep thinking of is do something then, instead of crying about it for 7 pages. Get up and do something. You're Wonder Woman, for crying out loud. Next, we head off to Olympus to see what's up with Billy Batson after that crazy cliffhanger in the last issue. If you don't remember, the wizard ripped the power of Shazam from him, leaving the mightiest mortal a withered husk. So, does Billy fight to get the power back? Not really. Hecate breaks him out of prison, casts a spell on him to make him look like a woman, and with Yara Flor, they head off. Then we get an odd, the gods are pretty fickle scene when they run into Hermes and Aphrodite, and Hermes rubbernecks Billy's way because he's a hot lady, which infuriates Aphrodite and made me want to throw this book out the window. Then they find Hippolyta, and she blesses Shazam's powers back to Billy, and then I really should have thrown the book out the window. Back in Man's World, though, Diana and Cheetah find themselves face to face with an army of gods and monsters, most of which are kind of generic, before Steve Trevor, Etta Candy, and Ziggy show up to not really even the odds, but shout odd things at one another. But wait, Yara and Shazam then show up, and the long, boring battle is on. It just ends up with fighty, punch, kick. At one point, you do end up having Diana and Hermes going at each other, and Hermes seems to weaponize the lasso of truth, and there's an explosion. It finally ends, though, with a cliffhanger that reveals who the mysterious hoodie guy is. And my gut reaction to all of that was just to shrug my shoulders and move on to the backup story. I actually was hoping that it was somebody else. We've talked about this in our reviews. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's just kind of like, all right, it's him. Well, we go to the backup story. I already told you the backup story is written by Cloonrad, so you should know what to expect. A convoluted mess with a couple of fan service moments, and that's pretty much what we get. The ending of it, though, does even up the odds for hashtag Team Wonder Woman, but it's another thing that could have been so much better with even a tiny bit of setup. Something this whole event lacks in spades. It's one of those things that while you're reading this story, things should have been set up for a while now, but it feels like everything just kind of got thrown at you, and it was one of those things, oh, what? We have an event going on? Better write a story. And it was just all tacked on and added in, and nothing really has any weight to it. Nothing has anything going on for it. This has been yet another boring event in this whole Wonder Woman scheme of things. Now, the issue looked great, but it really is just a bunch of characters going through the motions, running from point A to point B, so that things can just happen with little setup to push the story forward an inch. This is the penultimate issue of the event book, and while we also have one tie-in issue of Wonder Woman left, it's going to take a miracle from the gods for this to end in any sort of satisfying way. Everything up until now feels like the thinnest of outlines, and while I didn't expect anything out of this, somehow G. Willow Wilson and the crewmates have managed to disappoint me anyway. Oh well, it's like the fool me once and all of that, but because of all that, I am pretty depressed right now, and I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10, and that mostly is for the art. Now, all in all with this, what I really did hope to get out of this, quote-unquote event was to get Billy Batson Shazam in a better place, because he's been a mess for a while, but get him in a better place so that when we get to the Mark Waid Dan Mora book, the solo Shazam book, that we kind of have an idea of what's going on with him. That was one of my major things I wanted, but Billy has just kind of been walking around, and the idea of the big bads of Hera and the Wizard, they've hardly done anything. They end up killing Zeus to kind of start all of this. And then last issue, we had a little bit of them, but Hera's been sitting on the throne saying how much she likes that. And the Wizard has been kind of in the shadows just to come out and grab the power from Billy, but nothing else in it. And so it all feels like just a nothing story. So when you end up having, I'm going to go against Hera, I'm not going to be, you don't even know really what's going on in the big picture sense. You're just kind of going from scene to scene. And without any sort of setup, it just ends up all falling flat. Now, if you disagree with me, please let me know. And let me know what you've been enjoying about it, because I haven't been enjoying it much at all. And it's funny because I am getting a little angry when I talk about it, but it's not like that. It's not that I think that things are getting ruined or, oh my God, I can't believe that. It's more of like, when is it going to start? And this is just nothing and it's boring. Even tying into that Lazarus planet was just goofy from the get-go. It barely has anything to do with that. The backups do a little, but that seems forced in just to have something that tied in a bit to Lazarus Planet. And by this point anyway, I just want to forget that Lazarus Planet. That was another crap-ass, event. Everything at DC are crap-ass events. But with that, that's another video. So I'm going to get out of here. But please let me know what you think, and subscribe, like, enable, all of that stuff. I'm going to throw my computer out the window. That's the problem. I said I'm going to end up throwing the book out the window. I read digitally. Just going to pick up everything out the window. Now I'm getting mad, but I'll be back with some more reviews. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.